Hello and welcome as we are entering into the 23rd day of September 2020. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades, and of the like, that's within each's own risk and their own reward. For myself, risk reward management is always job number one. And in this video, we'll go over Bitcoin, Theta, and DGB. And then I'm going to be talking about fantasy hockey, but more importantly, risk reward management within such. All right, amongst the daily term on Bitcoin on the session on Monday, price action falling 4.7% after breaking it above this level of lots of resistance here after this big down move here, and it's supported here, but yada yada. However, the key thing is it did come back to where it came from, coming back to the 18 average of lows, and this now gives us that either or situation, either a failed breakout. Thus, if we see weakness amongst the 18 and these lows here, then I'm going to be considering a test of the previous lows at around the low 9,000 area. And else, the if else situation, computer programming speak. If we get above the 18 average of highs, which is closer to 11,000, then we're going to be looking, okay, getting above this level, then we can start talking about the key previous high level ranging between 11 all sixes all the way up to about 12,450 or 12,450. And that miscellaneous range there. But it's really just a key break above this, and then rather around here to around here. So 11.7 to about 12.5-ish. Okay, so that is how I'm looking at on it on the daily time frame. I mean, so many different time frames. You got the yada yada short term after this big decline. It's done a lot of this sideways action, but what's a little bit different in here is how we have a few periods in here. This is a decent sized setup when you're looking at something like this, because all the times I use verbiage like, oh, holding and staying above for a certain area. What does it look like? Well, that is what it looks like, holding and staying above the 10,500 load change area, doing such with a descending triangle. And amongst it, we have the 18 average of lows rising. And you know what? Start to see a shorter term than this, any types of break of this downtrend, stuff like that. Oh, maybe this thing would get going. Just stuff that you could look for as far as trying to find edges amongst technical analysis. Within the weekly term time frame, a lot of this long-term consolidation still intact, and it will be for quite some time, given we're pretty much in the middle-ish of this range, which is between 3,000 and 4,000 on the lower end, and the higher end between 13,000 and 20. It's only ever once been above the 13 area, which was back in here, and closer to the upper end towards this 13 or so. But yeah, an attempt to get above in here. Okay, so let's see here. You have your small move up. Now you have a correctionary move coming back, meeting in here. If you see it like 11.67 amongst this time frame, yeah, you know what? It looks to me as if, I don't see much more than short-term resistance at 13.2. But yeah, probably make it move towards a previous high, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22-ish or so thousand. If, of course, that situation presents itself. But we are seeing the most certain large uptrend, kilos all over the place. When we look at from the low end, kilos, then whatever on these lows, but then kilo here, and then uptrend. And then as far as the highs are concerned, well, that was the biggest high. So since then, how do all these highs here? And it's managed to pretty much get past all of them, matching this one. And then we have this high matching to this. So it hasn't been doing anything of making higher highs, really, but this higher low and this upward trend is most certainly in major stance right now, to the point where even if it falls down to like the slot machine number of all sevens, it's still got a nice higher low to this one. Anyway, let's move on next to Theta. And its price against the Bitcoin is 5,554 Satoshi, making it pretty much over a 60-cent coin at this point. 1,000 Satoshi is pretty much, well, what's Bitcoin? A little over 10,000, so a little over 10 cents for 1,000 Satoshi, or $1 for 10,000, depending on how you want to look at it. But again, as far as this is to me, the main cross trade against Bitcoin for the main trading purposes. And for me, it's like, why do I really want to consider too much as far as trades against the US dollar, which is an asset class I really don't want to hold too much. And then I throw in the line, do I really want to hold tethers? The big reason why when I'm showing these altcoins is pretty much always against the Bitcoin. As to me, I think it's the main, I feel the main trading pair, even though I don't use it as such, as I use ratio trading within my strategy. As it goes, key Fibonacci lines from this key low and this key high, 23.6, 38.2, 61.8% down. Not quite making it to this, doing the extremely rare 60 pierce less on this retracement. And I say that in such a wow, because it's, I mean, law of average, when you think, okay, what's the difference of a little bit more, a little bit less? Isn't it like the same thing? Like, it should be about the same. Law of average, law of numbers and stuff like that. And I don't know what reason it is, but it seems like it always successful corrections always pierce extra. But in the situations on the rarity, which this is, when this pierces less, does this tell you, and I've been saying this before on the way up, does this give me a reason why this is just going to be a phenomenal move because of the fact of that? And you can look at it in the sense where buyers got a little more aggressive a little earlier. Sellers weren't able to bring as much of a force into the moves down, whatever reasons you want to look for, stuff like that. I don't know. It just seems to me maybe that is the case, and if such, and I've been stating before, I've been extremely scared to sell a lot of this, and I haven't sold much. And there's a lot of different pairs I could just fill gap or fill in right now for extreme gains. But I do believe this Theta market, minimum, is going to go short term. That is within the 6,000 to 6,500 previous high level. Amongst the daily term time frame, this is just a phenomenal setup. I talked about the volume and how, well, basically how crap it is, how shitty, basically how low, which is a good thing if you're looking for price action going higher. At least I feel. To me, whenever we're going to have a big top from kilo level late July to key high, highs and lows are known after the fact. So whenever that happens to be, I highly believe it ain't going to be coming on volume looking like this. Oh, we see at this, oh yeah, look at how the volume comes in big like that. And decent volume for the several days before that being normal, meaning I think it's going to be several days before we even get close to top in this market. I think it's extreme weak resistance we're going to find at 64. Maybe it might be key. We might hit this and see it for not see it again or break it for a long time later. I'm not, but I doubt that even. I just feel we're at a weak resistance area where if we resist it, it might be congesting at the area. Maybe we pull back to 4,000 or 3,600 or something. I mean, maybe even less or whatever. And then if we don't resist it, 9,000, 10,000, 14, 16, 20, even 24. I mean, who major X moves becomes, and again, especially with, I would see like, if I'm going to get like 3, 4, 5 good days of volume coming in, what are some of these percentage gains going to look like with large green candles moving forward? Like 84% this day, 62, maybe 184, or whole whack of 30, 40, 60% days or whatever, bringing it to the point again, 14, 16, 18, 20,000. And as far as just looking at price action is concerned, now ignoring volume, which to me is like, man, whatever, but still, I don't like to ignore volume, that's why. But we hit this resistance level. What I'm going to do, I'm going to switch the time. I'm going to switch this chart to the Huobi version because I want to draw in it and I don't want to remove these Fibonacci lines. And I'm just going to most likely go like this and then remove drawings, and then I don't want to remove the lines. And I also get a bit more extra data for more longer term stuff, but we'll get to that in a bit. This to me is a phenomenal setup. As it goes, and even here, the volume on this, the one thing I always got to look at for different stuff, is there a situation where the volume is higher somewhere else? I mean, if you look at Bittrex and Poloniex type charts and their volume is way much lower, well, that's because like Binance and other companies come in, but no, I don't see any, at least I don't suppose of such that, I mean, I don't see any reason why people who normally be trading on Binance are not anymore. And the Huobi trades, of course, this volume in here compared to this volume, and then in much larger there. But as it goes, okay, so we come from the 18 lows in here, retest previous high, successful correction, coming back to where we came from. Since then, what is all of this? This to me is supporting this area and even this area of where we came from. So now we're on like 3-4 days of just hanging in there at this phenomenal setup. And a lot of this short-term resistance just in here, to me, this looks poised and ready just over the last 5 days to be able to break out. And I know the charts may not look quite as good. Yeah, it looks fine enough on Huobi for the short term compared to Binance, but you know what, good enough for me. And I gotta think the 4 hour is going to look better for what I need to look at, most certainly. I mean, this is just a dangerous setup. I mean, if you're looking for something extremely strong, to me, I think this is where we lie. We have these resistance levels here. We have this one in here, this one in here. So Now, the difference between these hits compared to this, higher high, higher high, higher high, matching high, matching high. Meanwhile, we're making all these higher lows. Also amongst this, even just in here, just all this red candle here, which is pretty much just a sideways break-even one, and then the follow-through within this one, 2 hours and 44 minutes left in a 4-hour period, which means we're close to the halfway point. How it's holding stand above, to me, I don't see any reason why I don't wake up in the morning and this thing hasn't already been above 6,000. It's not like me to have sell orders ready to go for different levels at a decent percentage move, because I'd rather have my coins in wallets, hardware wallets that is. But I have a very, very small sell order at around 6,200. And it's a very small one, but I don't want to sell until then. Like I say, I'm scared to sell, and I do what I call short selling. And it's not the short selling people would normally think, oh, you're no, well, you know of it. It's short selling means if I normally would sell at this time, I'd rather wait for it to go up even more. Or if I'm going to normally sell 100, man, now I'm going to sell 60, 70, 80. And I'm doing that at an extremely aggressive level, meaning I'm barely selling much at all. I'm going to do a little bit at 64 area, but just a little bit. And then once we hit the 8, 9, 10, 12, I started to put things back into full gear, as I want to also protect my ownership of what I have in case this thing does go high wire crazy. And if you're unfamiliar with my trading, I've talked about it before, and I haven't talked the strategies in the more information box if you're interested, if you're unaware. Alrighty, therefore, let's take a look at this. I mean, yeah, this to me is looking like an extremely just a beautiful, beautiful pattern as it's going. Every single one of these, at some point, as we can see, you have this sell-off, boom, big rally. Another big sell-off, that sell-off gets rejected. And then this sell-off, which was matte, boom, big, beautiful move. Then we have this big sell-off here. And then when it did finally bottom, just an amazing rally from the low point, coming back to where they came from fast. Barely making a higher low. My book, a matching low, piercing above. And then you quickly make that get back. You quickly get it back in here. And then just a fast move, sell off, quick, get it back quick. So a lot of these V-shape, U-shape formations are coming into play. So we're seeing a little bit of a down move. Anytime a benefit of the doubt or something like that occurring would not be a surprise. Everything here is telling me that this should just keep going higher as we continue to move forward over the next several days. Again, just a beautiful, beautiful daily term time frame. As I'm looking at it, when I look at this now on the weekly chart, I got a bit more data here. There's been many, many times when people have been eager to want to get into Theta, this being number 6. And right off the bat, just happened on that day there. So we were at this area first before, right at the outset. And in my level, what happened is I'm watching a video. You may be familiar with the channel, you maybe not. JSNIP4, JSNIP4 had Miss White Dove talking about a psychic that is, which is like, man, whatever. It's worth a different video or different. I need more time to talk about that aspect. But okay, yeah, this is the one I like. Oh, it's gonna go like extremely sky high. I mean, it's look at 1,000, whatever. I mean, if it went to like $60, holy crap. Either way. So you have that come in. So I got on and I traded a little bit on this exact exchange Huobi. Then I got out of it. And then Binance had it. So geez, I might as well get into it now. And I've been into it decently ever since. But the second big rally occurred in here. This was the Binance highs because Binance opened it up, but it was obviously traded for a bit before then. So we had a congestion in this area here at 16, 14, 15, and then it comes down and it congests a little bit lower than that. But while it's congesting it on November 30th, it had its third rally attempt. And this was a situation, took about 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to rally to the top. Gave the next 4, 5, 6 hours, gave a lot of it back. And over the next 6, 7, 8 days, it gave even all of it back. Then rally attempt number 4. And then huge correction, not going back to where you came from. So one of the things of why it's important in the must-hold area is one of the risks of it, because the must-hold area was right here and it didn't hold it. If it doesn't do it and it doesn't do the must, well, then what? Well, it could mean tops that we don't see again. No, not in this case. Or it could mean you have a sustained move like this, and obviously that's what happened. This is number 5 of how many of the big time people wanted to buy the most recent one of the last recent rally. But the one thing that sets this apart, actually, I guess you could say, to say it sets apart from the other ones is a very good correctionary move that followed it. Reason why I'm stuttering is because, well, geez, this was a pretty good correctionary move from this to this. So maybe this was the second best correctionary move, the first one. Now this is the best one that happened in here. From, of course, this top. And then the excitation of the 18 average occurred in here. And what's it been doing ever since? Well, we hit this resistance, had a shorter term, little bit, like on the daily, 4-hour, all that type of retracement. And it's done nothing more than start to break out as it now approaches this previous high. And it's 6,400, of course, on the exchange. And that's what we're talking about, too. How come, and I'll give you the answer, how come in this one we have a top here at 57.65, and the other one is 6,400, and is there any, and the next question is, after the how come, is there any way you can profit on that? And the answer to that is yes, and I'll explain that as well. And it's a common situation whenever you have big moves, usually the upside as well as maybe any major crashes at one side, that you're going to get what you call the arbitrage, where one site might have larger prices than the other. Now, some situations can occur if there's wallets offline, and I remember Komodo was bad for this. And the way its wallets moved was the big reason why I just got out of it, said, screw you, I don't want to play you, trade you, own you anymore. And in spots like that, you'd see where maybe Binance, the wallets were offline, and on Bittrex, they were not, or vice versa, or they were both offline. And that means one market would have much higher prices than the other because you can't arbitrage. Arbitrage would mean, well, if it worked out where this was 6,400 on Binance and only like 5,800 here, during maybe a 20-minute, 30-minute gap or something, you'd have an opportunity to sell like 6,300, 6,400 on one site and maybe buy at 58, 59 on the other site. And then you could maybe sell 100 for that amount of Bitcoin on, say, Binance, and then you take that exact same amount of Bitcoin on, say, Huobi, and then you might buy like 7, 8, 9, 10%, 15% more or whatever than you had before. And then you can do your withdrawals back and forth. One side will have a whole shitload of Bitcoin. One will have a whole shitload of Theta. One will have nothing of the other because of how you're buying, and you just move coins back and forth. And I used to do that a lot way back when. And way back when was the last bit of 2017 and pretty much most of 2018, but especially the early part of 2018. I did a lot of that. It was fun. It was kind of profitable, way too profitable actually. But I mean, that's why I had a very successful run in 2017, 2018. One of many reasons, one of many of my tricks of my trades that I was able to do at that time. So if you can look at two different exchanges with the exact same coin, I've thought about that with Theta, but you know what? It's just not worth my time. I like to do this a lot, like I would teach a truck driver, a dentist, any type of whatever position that has any other type of a lifestyle that really isn't. Yeah, I don't want to get into market trading too much, especially because I don't know how to do it, and this is just simple math that I talk about. That just do it when I see it's time to trade. Of course, I'm going to take it to more advanced levels, and one of them, of course, is my scaredness, of course, of selling Theta. I really, truly, highly believe that this market is going to be breaking out really, really nicely, at least a move to test around this 10K level. But the whole volume, that's going to probably, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy that this thing is going to do just as I state. It's going to have a nice little top, and we're not going to break below this 18 average of lows until we break this resistance nicely above it, and we do so on much, much, much more respectable higher volume. Probably higher than we've had before, but at least noticeably high. And then we have a good big retracement back to the downside, because that's what always happens. Always. I don't know what else. Literally, it's just there's pretty much not much more else. Final setup, and then we'll go to DGB after this. You can see all those previous highs in here, and that's really what it comes down to. Every single time it gets a little above 18 back. And I know you can't see the 18, but just presume the 18 average is in this ballpark area. Gets above it, back in, and even every time it got below it. So now it gets above it, and now it holds the high. Oh, supports the highs. Okay, that's different. And then we've had one good noticeable okay size candle to this one, and then another one matching. We're pretty much at previous high, but again, 64 other exchange. This thing looks poised to break this. It looks extremely highly poised in my opinion, to break it. Of course, all bets trades is your own risk reward. I say at the start of the video because I often basically say I think it's going to go up, it's going to go down. I don't know. It just seems like I seem to do that. And of course, in doing so, I do that. Oftentimes, I try to be as polarizing as possible as far as bullish, bearishness, this or that, if else, and especially because I love computer programming and this. I understand if else programming so well. That's should every computer programmer. But let's now go into DGB, daily term time frame. Okay, I mean, whatever with this line, but a lot is on the whatever. It's been resisting amongst this area for quite some time. Now, the pattern of all these higher lows from May up until the last higher low of July, end of July, obviously broken. And to me, it almost looks as if in that failed move, fast move setup even further. The fact of the matter to me is it first of all should have supported here at 230-ish area. It did not. Then it had this rejected rally on September 3rd, 4th. But after the rejected rally, where was that breakdown that should have happened? We resist the 18 lows in here around middle of September, well, 3rd of September. And then the real breakdown was September 13th to 15th. That's when this thing was supposed to break down, but that failed. And then we have this green candle come up and sustain itself successfully and make a move to this key resistance point. And even since then, it's been doing relatively well on its play like this. Yeah, you know what? I'm giving this the benefit of the doubt that this thing is ready to get going, but the weekly time frame is really what the determining factor is. And again, when I talk about volume in here, I guess this is Bittrex. But again, Bittrex was, I don't know how big and popular it is. I don't see. Yeah, DGB, but there was no Binance. I don't think there was no DGB. I don't know. I know Binance just got it, so this volume is just, I gotta think, gonna be really bad moving forward because it's on Bittrex. However, with that being said, I could probably, well, obviously this Fibonacci key level, whatever, it's that resistance line I'm not going to have anymore when I put in the new thing. I just want to take a look at its volume, and I know, really, see, this is the thing, they always sort this by highest volume. At least that's what I figured out. So it's telling me that the biggest volume of DGB BTC is Bittrex, followed by Binance, Bitfinex, KuCoin, Huobi, HitBTC. Oh man, those days back with HitBTC was so profitable back in the day, but I haven't played on that site for so long. Keyword played. It's all about the game and how you play it. Okay. Yeah, but as it goes, yeah, to me this thing looks more poised to have a breakout. And because of such, I don't even really trade on Bittrex anymore because now that DGB is on Binance, everything I trade is on that exchange. So whenever I need to make any type of cross trade, that's basically what I do. Alrighty, you know what? This is weird. It almost feels like I've been doing this video for over 30 minutes now, and we're at 22 minutes. So that's pretty cool. I'm done. Technical analysis. I'm going to do that final segment. Risk reward management, always job number one, and that of Stanley Cup Finals. Coming into this year, pretty much have never ever bet over $1,000 on anything once on it, whatever. I've played 1,000 Canadian poker tournament. I've played $1,000 US cash game buy-in, and a few times I think. And then several high hundreds, countless hundreds of times probably now. But for the first time ever, as the playoffs done very well for me, hitting into the 4-figure bets per game, I've now done several times over the past several games, basically throughout the conference finals and then the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup Finals. First 2 Stanley Cup Finals was okay losses, but really a very, very small percentage of the gains that I employed. And again, it's a percentage of what I bet in the sense of, well, you bet 1 unit and then you lose 30% of what you bet. 30%, 40% pretty much I lost on my bets itself. So it's like for every 100 I put in the poker. It's like, to me, it's like fantasy, like a poker game. It's like a cash game. I start off with every like $1,000, $100, whatever it is. Maybe I'll have 2,000 back when I'm done, or nothing, or half of it, a quarter of it, yada yada. Because it's very normal that I'll get something of what I bet back. However, hockey season's coming to an end as the series is tied 1-1, and there is 3 to 5 hockey games left. And they have an interesting game coming up on game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals on DraftKings. They call it the Holy Grail as the name. It's a buy-in of $260, and it's always multiple entries. And the way I play, there's no way I could play with any fewer than double digits, which is that of 10. And I've been playing between 50 to 100 for the last few weeks per game, which is combinations of different players. So when I do 10, even probably 12 for that matter, I'm going to be basically, for the first time ever, I've never ever bet more than 2,000 now in my life, and it's going to be for the first time ever probably betting at least about 35 or 36. Because if I'm doing 12 lineups at about $260 a shot, plus a few other games here and there I'll add extra stakes on, then that's a noticeable amount. But at the same point, I look, okay, worst case scenario, what happens if I have the worst hockey game for game 3? Okay, my bankroll's at this, then I play these stakes here, and then I happen to lose every game up until game 7, and then I'll basically make my final withdrawal, and you know what, yeah, okay, I'm a comfortable amount, my gains well higher than what my target level was, which was that of 10,000. I stated at the start of the year that if I were to make that, and I've had even one individual game where I profited over 5 figures or over 10,000. Where if I were made 10,000, I could write a book. Well, if anyone was seriously interested in my strategy and says some information I really don't want to share, then we can talk and I could maybe figure something out. I've also thought maybe in time I could write a memoir, not a memoir book, but a story book about like gambling stories. Like it's just one extra story I'll have in my life kind of deal. Playing the start of this NHL season and then where we go from here, because the season's going to come to an end of September, which means October and November is an off season for me. I'll still be managing my bankroll as I start it for the new year. DraftKings is going to owe me a plethora of large amount of cash for reward bonuses, which is going to be the start of my new bankroll come the 2021 hockey season, which I will probably start near Christmas, although I'm thinking they say they want to start at December 1st. This whole current situation aspect I don't talk much about, and I'd rather not. It's a big aspect, of course, within such. But I at this point just managing the bankroll to the stage of getting back to where it was before, because the stakes I'm wagering now was never available during the regular season. Meaning I'd be too big for the game, or I'd be playing the max stakes, and then some if I could, or I'd have a bankroll way too high for what I need. And I look to myself as what they call a gambler, somebody who, of course, the word gambling is making any type of risk of venture of some sort on an event of uncertainty. Uncertainty is defined simply. I mean, obviously, in mathematics is not having a 0 or 100% chance of occurrence and any other percentage in the middle, which is practically everything in life. And then, of course, it's always about understanding, is this a gamble to your favor or not? Most certainly this is. Of course, the profits have came into play. I figured out like on day 1 of day 2, 3, 4. I've talked about this way back in the early parts of October. I think I'm onto something here. And that's something, if you ever see something that can give you within the field, it could be trading markets. You see, okay, I feel this type of strategy can work out, then give me this great gain. We'll do work towards seeing how great of a strategy it is, what type of loopholes you can get, but even better yet, how much you can improve the play or your results with whichever mechanisms, algorithms in which that you go with. I know for myself, I go back to the next season, I'm going to be in like what they'd be like a second year almost for a specific, design strategy. What the heck? I changed that to 6,000. I'm certain I edited it to 6,000. But I was thinking like, oh, it's already having its break and I've already lost it. But anyway. Yeah, 55.85. I edited it just before. Anyway. That took my train of thought. off. But yeah, just if you find any type of setups, again, I know that's what I was talking about, just work towards. Because I got my spreadsheets together, I put in computer programs, I figured things out. One of the things I've talked about before is in game theory, maximize your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, and such, while understanding your opponent's weaknesses and strengths, and in tune, doing the best you can to minimize their strengths and maximize their weaknesses. And I found their weaknesses pretty damn good in the game, which coincided, of course, with, just my strength to understand their weaknesses. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.